Hello and welcome to TPCast episode number 91.
Thank you.
And I'm wrong, this is 92. I was just joking.
Oh.
I'm Layne.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Kevin.
And we're back once again after our last episode where we talked about the Marlin versus the Asteroid movie, which was going back to the realm of Marlin after a long time. Now we're swinging in the opposite direction and going for a live action spin. So that was all the way back in August of 2024.
Wow. So will we ever get to 100 episodes? We're on track to get there by 2087.
Something like that. So, so we're here to talk about essentially what we've been up to since that came out.
Which is a lot, despite our minimal online presence. But the reason for minimal online presence is because we've been very busy.
We've been hunkering down, working hard.
Working on a script for a movie that we're here to talk about today.
Script and beyond.
Yes.
But we spent a good amount of time just on the script.
So, Kevin, do you want to take it from here a little bit?
Yes, I will tell the beginning of the story. So, after I was done making my first feature film, which was Losers of Eden, we did that in 2021 is when we shot it. It was finished in 2022. I had this feeling of like, I really enjoyed making that. It was so much fun. I'm so proud of it. But I did everything pre-production wise myself. I wrote the script. I came up with all the ideas. I produced it. I directed it. I did all the casting. I did all the locations. I did all the, like the scheduling and everything.
All the stressful stuff.
All the stressful stuff. And some of the fun creative stuff. But I had to do everything. And I thought, even just in terms of the screenplay, how much better could Losers of Eden have been if I didn't write it isolated in a room? Now, this was during COVID, so that was kind of the nature of how things were being done. But if I had brought Kyle and Layne in, could that movie have been a lot better? And so I thought,
to be fair, he wrote a draft and then we did get to read it and give our input, but it wasn't like we were in the room writing it together.
Yeah, it was all, the entire story was my idea. So I thought, how much better could it have been? And how about we actually do that? Because we were getting close to finishing the Marlin short film, Marlin versus the Asteroid. And we were hanging out. We were spending the night. And I said, I have something that I would like to pitch you guys tomorrow morning when we wake up. So we got up and went to a coffee shop. And I said, what I would like to do is do Losers of Eden again, essentially, but this time we do everything together. So we will come up with an idea for a movie, and then from there we'll get it done. And another thing that I wanted to put in place was something that came from when I made Losers of Eden, which was because it was COVID, I was consuming so much media at the time. So
because there was nothing else
to do. So I was really heavily inspired by lots of things that I was watching at the time, like Sons of Anarchy, for example. So I thought, how about we each take one movie that we love and have a viewing party and write down what inspires us about this movie. And then once we're done, we have these 3 totally different movies that we can start to pull apart and say, what do we like from this movie that we can get inspired by and take from? So that was really the start of it, which was almost now 2 years ago, exactly, because we started writing in May of 2024. I don't know when we started watching the movies, but it was probably April. And I don't remember the order of the movies we watched. I think Layne,
mine was first.
You went first.
Yeah.
So why don't you take it from here, Layne?
Did we want to reveal?
I have
why the heck not?
No problem revealing them.
Okay, because so the movie that I selected was
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. What we decided to do was we're each going to pick a movie and watch it, but we're not going to tell each other what the movie is until it starts. So we have no idea what we're about to watch when we come over to Layne's place, and he just says, "This is what it is," and put it on, and we watched it.
Yeah. So the movie that I selected was American Movie. So this is a documentary about a filmmaker in Wisconsin who really wants to make a movie and is determined, hook or by crook, to get it done with very little means.
And Kevin and I think, were really surprised when Layne said this is a documentary, because we weren't going to make a documentary. We were going to make a narrative.
We were like,
making a
how
narrative.
can we take a documentary and turn it into like, or be inspired by that for a narrative feature?
Yeah, but I think the entire afternoon and evening that we spent watching that and discussing it, I think is one of the most memorable days of pre-production for me for this whole thing. I think, probably the first official pre-production thing we did, and I think it's the most memorable for me.
Yeah, and it was actually very inspiring what we were able to take from that movie and put some ideas into play for our movie. And then I think I went next.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, we had plans to go see the movie Fall Guy? The Ryan Gosling stuntman movie?
Well, that will tell you when we did this then.
Yeah. We were gonna see this movie. I think we got to the theater and there was something like the theater was closed, like
the
pipe
AC was out or something.
I think they had said like a pipe burst or something. And
so that was May.
Yeah. And so we were like, well, since we had these plans to watch each other's movies anyway, let's just go back to my house and I'll throw on the movie that I had planned to watch. And that movie was Good Will Hunting, which I had seen a couple times before. Kyle had not seen it, but Layne had seen it.
Somehow I had not seen Good Will Hunting for 30 years.
Yeah, but I think, Layne, you hadn't seen it for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's such a great movie. It is a classic in my eyes. And what I really like about that movie that I thought we could take from it is it was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon who created their own like careers from that movie. That was really the first thing that they had done. They wrote the script, they put it together, they were able to get it done in Hollywood at the time, and now they're these A-list actors. And I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck in particular. Anytime I'd like watch an interview with him where he's talking about the filmmaking process, I just can't stop listening because he is so smart. Matt Damon,
he's very passionate.
Yeah, he's so passionate. And then Matt Damon is also very smart. And Ben Affleck is also a very good director. I thought that would be a great movie to show to get us inspired.
And one of the cool things about Good Will Hunting was they wrote it specifically to be cheap and easy to make. It's like, let's do a bunch of indoor locations, right?
We'll play the main characters so that we don't have to cast expensive actors.
Yeah, and that's cool, for us to take inspiration from, because that was, it's a heck of a lot easier to make a movie that is specifically made to be easy to make. We don't want to make a Fall Guy where you have to have stunts and explosions, and I mean, maybe we do. We can do that in Marlin. You want to back up for a sec, Layne? Do you want to talk about why you picked American Movie before I reveal mine?
Well, it was a movie that I kind of just wanted you guys to see anyway, because I think first of all, I think the creators of Napoleon Dynamite, which is one of our favorite movies, pulled from this movie. So in a way, it was getting inspiration from the thing that...
It's like watching Seven Samurai.
Yeah, exactly, for a Star Wars person. So for that reason, I wanted you guys to see it. But then also for the whole meta aspect of... making a movie...
with your friends.
Yeah, with your friends, with very little means. It's very scrappy. In seeing the documentary, it's like everyone is pitching in to help this guy make his movie. So it's like family members, friends, anyone who's available. is helping him.
And it's really entertaining. And
it's really funny.
It's really like it's full of heart, and like Layne said, scrappy, and
every character, I'm doing air quotes because it's real people, are so memorable.
Yeah. And they have like their own unique qualities. It's not like, oh, these two guys are exactly the same. Like everybody's different and serves a purpose. And
it's very Wisconsin. It's a lot of drinking.
Kyle, do you want to go next?
So I ended up choosing a movie called Game Night, which I believe came out in 2017.
Around then.
Sometime around then.
Exactly.
So Kevin and I went to see it in the theater when it came out. And I remember, I had only seen it that one time, but I remember laughing my head off from the opening second to the final second. It was so funny all the way through.
Not just is it so funny, but it was really well plotted out from beginning to
very
end.
Smart, but so funny. And that was what I really wanted to take away from this, which I think way back when we were doing the season of Marlin that was like the teleporter, and we had this whole grand plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movie, I specifically wanted like, let's try to be as funny as possible from the beginning to the end, because I love that. Just all funny all the way through. So I thought Game Night was a really great thing to take away from that. And like Kevin said, very well plotted out, very smartly done. You know, some surprises, some twists along the way. And I, like, we had decided we're going to do this, you know, watch movie thing with each other for a few weeks before we actually started. And for most of the time, I had a different movie in mind, which was The Nice Guys. One of my favorite movie comedies. I think you had seen that one before, Layne. I think after Kevin and I watched it, we made you watch it. So I think the reason I ended up going with Game Night instead of The Nice Guys was because I didn't think you had seen it. So, and just, I thought it probably was a little bit funnier in terms of how many jokes you get throughout the whole movie. So that's what I ended up doing. And then what we did, Kevin briefly touched on this a second ago. He said, or a few minutes ago, he said we kind of just talked about what we liked about the movie. But it was really like we had a full-on discussion.
Yeah, we watched the movie.
It's
and
like book
sat
club
down for another hour or so.
Yeah. It's like we treated it like almost like a film class, essentially. So it's like we watched it and then had a discussion afterwards and made like bullet point lists and things like that.
We talked about characters and plot points.
Yeah, we have a whiteboard in Layne's bedroom here that
split up by the 3 different movies and things that we liked and things that we didn't like, or not that we didn't like, but things that we wouldn't want to put into our movie. Kyle said he had another choice for a movie. I had a backup movie that I thought about playing. Layne, I don't think you had any other movies.
No, I didn't.
I'm not going to reveal mine.
Okay. And you know, another thing that I thought was really cool, and I sort of appreciated this, you know, Kevin's idea was, let's not talk or think about what our movie's going to be about at all until we watch all our movies. We have this discussion. And after we watched our 3 movies and had the discussions and made the notes about what we like, then we had another meeting where it was like, let's come up with an idea now based on what we talked about, what we like, what we don't like. And I think the first,
I was going to say, our movie is not these 3 movies combined.
Yeah.
These are just things that, like, movies that inspired us. So it's not like we took a character from here and took a character from here and a plot point from here and made it a different movie. But we just pulled different things that we liked and then had that as a jumping off point of things that we wanted to put into our movie.
And I still remember it was almost like a magical moment, and I was sitting literally right here. You were right there. You were right there when
he's pointing to where we're sitting right now, the exact spots.
We're not filming this, but you get the idea. We had our first post movie watching meeting where we were going to actually start coming up with our story. When we came in with no, I don't want to make a movie about this, blah 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 blah, and when we sat down, it wasn't, okay, here's my idea. It was just, let's have a discussion about, what we like, blah, blah, blah. And Kevin said, I have an idea for a character, not a plot point or anything. It was just, here's a character that I think is an interesting archetype. And that was sort of our spark, that
the genesis of where the story came
everything came out from this character.
Which is such an interesting way to do things, because normally you come up with an idea for a movie and then build everything around your plot idea. But this started as like, here's a character, and then what other characters and situations could come from around that.
And it wasn't even the main character.
It wasn't the main character. And another thing that I really liked about the way we went about this is, by pure chance, we chose 3 completely different types of movies. Like
Genres.
Layne's is a documentary that is funny but also sincere and heartfelt. I chose a drama that, is very dramatic, has moments of levity, but I think like I explained the reasons for choosing my movie, it's a perfect movie to show. And then Kyle chose this very clever, well plotted out, hilarious comedy. And from that, we create our movie, which is a comedy, I'll say. Like, are there moments of drama? Sure. But we didn't take the drama from Good Will Hunting. We took some other things from there that I don't want to reveal. I get the sense that if you read the script or watch the movie, you might go, oh, I can kind of see where maybe you were inspired by this, but it's not going to feel like, oh, that's a ripoff of American Movie and Game Night and Good Will Hunting. But we are very proud of what we came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, would you like to essentially say what it's about? What's
Sure.
What's the premise of this movie?
So the movie is called Bucket Baby, and it is a movie about a young man who is running a struggling community theater. This community theater is about to go under, so he is holding a fundraiser, and the fundraiser is how would you say, kind of taken over.
It's co-opted by a figure in our main character's life who he has shunned to the side. This happens to be his father, but he's known to the world in a larger aspect.
Yes, his father is an A-list movie star who's kind of infamous in Hollywood.
And perhaps say he was an A-lister.
Yeah, he was an A-lister. Now he's kind of infamous. And he has been trying to make, for about 30 years, what he calls his magnum opus. He wants it to be known as the next great American movie. And it's all he talks about. It's all he cares about. So what his plan is to go to his son's fundraiser and steal all the investors for himself, which sparks a mission where our main character tries to stop his father's movie from getting made,
while also dealing with the entire reason why the son has chosen to distance himself from the father in the first place, which stems back to a very embarrassing childhood incident that took place to our main character. Our main character's name is Connor. So this happened when he was a baby. And if you can imagine the Michael Jackson balcony incident, it's very much in that same vein in terms of publicity and the stain that it put on the people who were involved. Mm-hmm. And so our main character has been stamped in culture and is known to the world as Bucket Baby because of this incident.
In case you were wondering,
that happened to him when he was a child.
Yeah.
So, in the process of trying to save his theater and essentially undo what his father just did by taking this attention away from the theater, he also has to confront this incident that he's been pushing away and trying to avoid for his whole life, essentially.
The amazing part about this movie to me is just how much it reflects the three of us. We grew up making movies together, and it really involves like the movie making process. It's a story about artists and struggling artists and people who are trying to get things done and kind of seen as the underdogs.
People who work behind the scenes.
Exactly. People who work behind the scenes. And it's not something that we intended to do. We didn't set out to write a movie about these kinds of people, but it just kind of happens when you're writing something and you're writing what you know, and it kind of turns into something a little bit personal, which is funny because when I did Losers of Eden, it wasn't personal whatsoever. It was just a cool story that I thought of.
Yeah. I would like to add that the writing process was really cool, although it was very slow. A lot of times I think if you're writing a movie by yourself, even a feature film, it doesn't take you nearly as long as it took us because
you can sit down and write it whenever you want.
You're working on your own availability. We had to juggle the three of us who have lives, we have jobs, whatnot. We can't always meet. So this was we tried to set aside at least one day a week to get together and physically write the thing, type it out. But we never did anything without the three of us. Sometimes it was, over Zoom or what is it? FaceTime.
Yeah,
if one of us was sick or whatever.
Yeah. In terms of the writing, though, that was pretty rare.
Yeah.
That we'd have to do that.
But it really was like, once a week from when we started at the beginning to when we finished. It was over a year of writing.
Yeah, and it was really unique. And going into it, I wasn't even expecting that we would end up doing it like this the whole time, but where it wasn't even a situation where we would like talk and then one of us would go off and write the scene and bring it back to everyone else to see what everyone thought. It was pretty much every word that was written. It was all three of us in the room.
Yeah, it was
hearing it immediately.
It was me with the actual computer typing it out, and sometimes it would be like, okay, Layne, what is the next line here? And I would just write down whatever Layne says. Or sometimes it would be like, Layne and Kyle are coming up with what's happening next, and I am just typing out kind of stream of consciousness what is happening, and then I'll read it to them, and then they'll come in with their ideas of how to change it. But nothing was like, okay, I'm writing this scene and
you're
guys
writing
can't
the next
touch it.
scene.
Yeah. It was, there's like no sentence that wasn't,
approved.
Approved by all of us.
And that really helps it feel like it's not like it's Kevin's movie that he wrote, or it's not like Kevin's movie that Layne and I had a little bit of input on. It feels to me like our movie equally.
No, not one of us could have come up with the entire thing on our own.
And it's also continuously, throughout the whole process, it was continuously surprising to me how, and I don't say this to put us down at all, but how surprisingly good it was. Of just like, wow, we came up with something really awesome, really funny, really smart, really, twist that's really good.
And it really is like the three of us. Like I, to this day, I can't read it and remember like, oh, who came up with this whole idea? Like maybe a small thing here or there, I'll remember, oh, that was me, that was Kyle, that was Layne. But like, as far as like the entire overarching thing, like I have no memory of who came up with what.
I'm the same way.
I will say, it does, you can read it and it doesn't feel like, oh, that's a Kevin sentence or whatever. It's just like, this is our movie. I will say, I think my favorite line in the movie, I think Kevin came up with, and I think Kevin's favorite line was one of mine. I don't know about Layne.
I don't know what my favorite is in the movie. So we essentially wrote it all out and then started the process of trying to bring it to fruition. So that started with looking at actors that we would like to cast into the roles, which we did over, I'd say, like 6 months or so.
It was definitely a few months. And we also did it in our own kind of special way of casting where we would separate for a while and try to find actors and then come together and watch through their reels and be like, do we like this person? Should we reach out to them
for this specific role?
Yeah. Should we not reach out to them? What do we say to them? And by either chance or skill, Kyle ended up finding the vast majority of our cast.
Yeah, I'll take credit for that. Also something really interesting, and we were sort of talking about this when we got to meet some of them in person recently, but sort of how we were just talking about how the whole thing we wrote together, literally every sentence. It was the same way with communication with all these people that we've been talking to, where sometimes, we'd send them a message and they wouldn't hear back from us for a few days because we wanted to make sure that every reply that we sent to somebody
was approved by everyone.
By all three of us. Yeah. So I think that's really cool and special. And even though it might, it might take longer to hear back from us as an actor, it's cool that I'm not just replying willy-nilly. It's, you get everyone's input on every piece of communication.
Another question that you listeners might be having is, who is directing the movie? Because
it sure sounds like you're all equal.
I know, it sounds like we're all equal. And you might think, oh, are they all three of them are directing it because all three of them wrote it? Is Kevin directing it because it was his idea to do this project in the first place? What was funny is we actually never talked about the directing the entire time we were putting together the script.
Somehow we got Ben Affleck to direct it.
When I first pitched the idea of doing something like this, it was in the back of my mind, like, I hope I am the director, because it's what I love doing. But I wasn't going to stop anybody else from co-directing it or solo directing it if they wanted to. But all of a sudden, we just kind of had this conversation of like, so how we gonna, who's going to be directing? And I think Kyle and Layne were both like, well, Kevin, you're going to direct it, right? And I was like, yeah, I am. So myself being, I guess, the one with the more directing experience, especially when it comes to a feature film, I'm going to be directing it, but I'm not going to be directing it. This is a
dictator style.
Exactly. I was going to say with an iron fist. Like, Kyle and Layne will have as much input on set as they feel like they have to give.
When we were doing Losers of Eden, that's hard to say. I was the boom guy, the sound guy. And I liked doing that for that film because it made me really pay attention. I was listening to everything the actors were saying. And it gave me the freedom to say, hey, here's a line that actually doesn't make sense when you think about it. Or, whatnot. But I still felt like because it was Kevin's movie, he wrote it, he directed it, I didn't have the freedom to say, like, you know what, let's try it this way. But that's something we've talked about with Bucket Baby, is even though Kevin is the action and cut director, because this is all our project, we're all going to be able to say, you know what, on this one, let's try it this way, whatever. There's a lot more freedom and comfort in that, because it's our project. So that's something I'm very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't talk to the actors.
Yeah. Don't look at them in the eyes.
So that brings to light the, I guess the main driving point of this, besides updating you on the project and what it is and how it's been, and that's the fact that we need your help to bring this to life. So we want to be able to pay people for their time who are going to be involved with this project. So the people that we cast for our principal actors, we want to be able to pay them. So that's the main reason why we're raising money to be able to make this, is to be able to provide that for them.
We're working with professional, like, working actors, where the majority of them, or at least they'll make a lot of their money from acting. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to, support the arts as much as our movie makes it feel like we are supporters of the arts.
This is a zero AI project, by the way.
Yeah, no AI was used in the writing process or casting or any of the behind the scenes to get this movie made.
This is an artist's film.
Yeah, and we support artists, we support art. We're making an art project about the arts, and so we intend to be able to pay people as much as we can, and paying people, believe it or not, requires money.
So if you would like to get in on this journey with us, you can go to bucketbabymovie.com, and there'll be all sorts of ways there where you could support the movie. Financially, obviously, is the main one. We have multiple tiers in terms of stuff that you can get in return for your hard-earned money. Some of them are pretty cool.
Yeah, this is the fun thing, is we're not just asking you to donate and that's the end of it. Anybody who donates is going to get something.
The most affordable option gets your name in the credits.
Yeah. So we're going to have a special thanks section in the credits. So if you ever wanted to see your name in the credits of a movie, if you've ever thought about that while you're sitting there watching the credits roll and go, what would it look like to see my name up here? Here's your opportunity. And that's the cheapest way to get in. And then it goes all the way up. We have a ton of fun tiers. The next one up is going to be what we call movie ticket. So for, I believe, $25, which, think about it, that's the price of a movie ticket and a popcorn and a soda these days.
If not cheaper.
Yeah, if not cheaper. You'll get to watch the movie. As soon as it's done, we'll send you a link so that you can watch it and see your name in the credits.
So there's a lot of different options. I know my personal favorite one's probably the merch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
tier.
not all of it is just, digital goods. Some of it is actually stuff we'll send you in the mail.
Should we go through each tier?
I don't think so. If you want that, you can go to the website and take a look at everything on offer. But if we want to say our personal favorites, mine is the merch one, where you get a hat and what do you get, stickers too?
Yeah, I did want to actually shout that one out too, because that one is also my favorite. So you'll have the opportunity to get some free swag. I mean, who doesn't love free swag? So you're going to get a hat that says you're on the production team, so make people jealous. You'll get... You
are, though. If you're funding the movie, you're part of the...
Yeah, exactly. Team. You're part of it. You're going to get 3 stickers. One of them will even say, I funded Bucket Baby, so you can kind of flash that. And then you'll get all the other stuff that was in the previous tiers, which, like I said before, includes naming the credits. It includes being able to watch the movie. It's going to include a lot of other digital goodies that you might be used to when you get, for example, a DVD of a movie, where you get kind of special features. Mm-hmm. There'll be a blooper reel, commentary, the soundtrack that Layne's going to write, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's my favorite tier. It's the $100 tier, and I think it's insane.
It's $150 for the merch.
The one Kyle's talking about
is the 100 is all this digital goodie stuff. And I think as you're hit the mic, as you're reading the description of what you get in this tier, it just keeps going. Of wow, I'm getting this and this and this and this. It's so much cool stuff. But it goes way beyond that. We got a lot of tiers with a lot of really cool stuff that you can get. Some of it is not just stuff that you can get. Some of it is experiences that you can have.
Mm-hmm. If you so desire, you could be in this movie.
Yeah.
So, go to the website, bucketbabymovie.com, to check all of that out.
There's one more thing that I want to shout out in terms of what you can get, which is another thing that we're going to be giving away to certain donors, is going to be actual props from the movie. We have some screen used props that we're just going to be mailing out.
So if you wanted to hold in your hand what you will be able to watch.
Yeah, a piece of Bucket Baby history. Hollywood history, honestly. Cinematic history. Absolute cinema.
So this is running until the end of April. So if you hear this before May 1st,
2026.
Yeah, you got your shot to get in on this. And you could also go to our Instagram. That's what we're pushing really hard, at Bucket Baby Movie. So we have a whole bunch of like different videos with us and with the actors and talking a little bit more about the project. So yeah, you could go there, follow that, and share it around. And in terms of the fundraising campaign, you could also just share that around with you. I think a lot of the people who listen to this podcast have similar interests that we do, which means that you're probably friends with other people who have the same interests that we do, which means that they're likely interested in this.
Mm-hmm. Also, while we're talking about it, I just want to give a shout out to the people who have pledged already. And if you happen to be listening to this, just a very, very big thank you. It means so much to us that you believe in us, you believe in our story and our project. What?
And there's discussion going on here.
I was going to say we're, I believe, at 21% funded through our goal.
Although
at the time of
I wasn't even gonna like mention that because it's like by the time this is released, that's gonna be out of date.
Yeah, but like Kyle said, like the people that have got us to where we are already, we're already a fifth of the way there. Feeling very good about it.
Is there anything else that we feel like we want to add? We're aiming to film it later this year in August. So essentially, as soon as the campaign has wrapped, we're straight into getting prepared for that.
Yeah, and we're already far behind the scenes, not behind, but like behind the scenes, we're working far along. Yeah, because we're already pretty much all the way cast. We are working diligently on locations. We've already secured some good locations. We have some more to go, but like things are moving along really quickly, really well. And as far as the timeline beyond when we're shooting, the movie will be done, I would say.
I'd say 2027.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 2027.
Yeah.
My guess would be the first half, but that's just going off of when we did Losers of Eden. We shot it in the summer, and it was done, I want to say, April. So if things go roughly the same timeline, but that was also during COVID when things were shut down and we had more free time. So it might not be exactly the same, but it will be done in 2027. This isn't going far beyond that. So like if you're going to donate at a level where you will get to see the movie, you'll get to see it soon. We just have to make it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in order to make it, we need your help.
So do the aforementioned things, and we'll probably end up recording this again. I mean, who knows? But likely after we've shot the movie. That's my guess.
We'll give you a recap.
Yeah.
Of how it went.
So until then, I'm Layne.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you on the other side.